Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, we're doing reviews of my favorite hunting books. The first one that I did was Jeff Cooper's The Art of the Rifle. Okay, and in this review, it's a pretty long. Well, these are all going to be long because they're just excellent books and excellent writers. That video, I did a review of the book, kind of an overview of the table of contents, told you kind of what's in there. It's the best overall general operating practical marksmanship and rifle management book that I've ever read. I had both of my kids read this when they were, coming up before we went hunting, and as I was teaching them how to shoot. I've read it probably 6 or 8 times. I mean, it's just an excellent general overview book. The second one is Make It Accurate by Colonel Craig Boddington. This book right here goes into setting your rifle up, choosing your rifle, setting it up. So whether you decide to buy a new rifle from the sporting goods store and then a brand new scope and then put the whole thing together and shoot factory ammo, or if you want to do like I do generally, which is pick them up from pawn shops, fix whatever's wrong with them, clean them, get them running right, hand load for them, put nice scopes on them, all that kind of stuff. Along with selection of bullets, some brief hand loading for hunting rifles, that sort of stuff. This is your book right here. Now we get in a little bit more specialized type books. The last two, now these are going to be separate videos, but this is Deer, Rifles and Cartridges by Dr. Wayne Van Zwoll. Okay, excellent dude, all right? Excellent writer, writes for all the gun magazines. When you see an article with this guy's name on it, pay attention. The other book that I'll review next is the complete book of the 22 long rifle, okay? Which between a deer or a general big game rifle and a 22 rimfire, you have got 85% of all your rifle type hunting needs covered. You'll need a varmint rifle like 223, 22, 250, that sort of class. If you decide to play the long range game, you might need a dedicated rifle set up for making 500, 800 yard shots. And then if you're a shotgunner or a waterfowl hunter, of course you'll need a shotgun, but we're talking about rifles mostly. So this book is all about deer, rifles, and cartridges. Excellent book. Absolutely excellent book. I think the first half of the book, though, is talks about the different styles and different makers of rifles, okay? So he will talk about Bill Ruger and Ruger Model 77. He will talk about Mr. Winchester and the Winchester Model 70, both pre-64 and post-64, which is what this one is. He'll talk about Remington and the Model 700, Winchester and the Model 94. Marlin and the 1895, if I remember right. I don't have one of those. He'll talk about all the different rifles. He's got them broke down in different classes. So let's say you want a rifle for long reach, I think is what he calls in here. He'll talk about some custom rifle makers, as well as kind of sort of how to set up a rifle for shooting out there at 500, 600, 800 yards. Let's say you're into brush gun, let's say you're, in a spot where you'll never see over 75 yards. Well, then you might decide to go after a lever action gun in 30-30 or 45-70 or whatever. That's in the front half of this book. The second half of this book, he'll go into, and there's also like ballistics charts. And examples of rifles. So let's say right here, this is lightweight deer rifles. Let's say you're after a rifle that's, let's say you're a backpacker or a mountain sheep hunter or something like that, and you want a rifle that doesn't weigh any more than 6 pounds. Well, he's got a list in here of rifles, and they're, is this the part where it's got the weight? Now this is definition of carbine with barrels shorter than 21 inches. So these are a whole bunch of rifles that have got barrels that are shorter than 21 inches and are generally going to be on the light end. Cartridges best suited to lightweight and short-barreled rifles. Okay, 243 Remington or Winchester with 5 different loads. Who makes the loads, what the velocities are at the muzzle, 100, 200, 300, and 400 yards. A lot of really good kind of generalized information that you can find in other places, but you might have to go to this style of book, this style of reloading book, this kind of book, and he's kind of compiled it all into one place. Here we go. He's got one for modern big bore cartridges for lever rifles with a 348 Winchester all the way up to the 450 Marlin. Bullet weights, muzzle velocity, and amount of power. This book, he'll also go into some shooting techniques, not as much as Jeff Cooper, but still some good shooting techniques. Wayne Van Zwoll was, he started off shooting competition .22 long rifle when he was a kid. So his background is in competition shooting. Okay, so that kind of colors the rest of, you know, his hunting career and everything like that. He'll also go into bullet selection. You know, why you might shoot a regular old, you know, spear soft point over a, you know, the latest and greatest, you know, Barnes lead-free, you know, $3 a bullet type bullets. I mean, Barnes aren't quite that expensive, but sometimes they seem like they are. And why, you know, and when you would need a really expensive hold-together bullet versus a regular old cup and core lead jacketed bullet. It also goes into, you know, selection of a scope. I don't think it goes really into mounting of the scopes. But anyway, we'll go ahead and go through the table of contents like we did on the other ones. These books, this one right here is one that I'll pick up occasionally and, you know, look up a different cartridge if somebody's talking about, you know, something, and I think, well, that cartridge doesn't do that. Well, a lot of times I'll pick this one up as a reference. So he says, grandfathers of deer guns, okay? That's when he'll go into kind of a history of hunting rifles. Prodigies of rifle designs, kind of the same deal. Big names in bolt guns, okay? Who makes the majority of your bolt action rifles out there? More bolt rifles of consequence. I think there he goes into like custom rifles and kind of obscure makers. Lightweight deer rifles, we saw a little bit about that. Rifles with extra reach, he'll talk about what goes into a rifle that you put together to start off at 500 and 600 and 700 type yards. Okay, I mean, because there's quite a bit more. You don't typically just pick up a rifle off the shelf and, you know, buy factory ammo and go out and start poking holes in deer at 500 yards. I mean, you can get lucky, but it doesn't generally happen like that. Deer guns for the deep woods. He talks about short range rifles. Rifles to remember, rifles that he had stories with, if I remember right. Deer loads to love. Okay, this is where he talks about, and this is kind of near and dear to my heart. You don't need $60 a box ammo to go out and kill a couple of mule deer. Okay, regular old Remington cup and core, you know, the green and yellow box stuff that's, you know, used to sell for $10 a box of 20. I think it's around $20 a box of 20 nowadays. You know, that stuff, as long as your rifle likes it and you match it to your rifle in the game that you're shooting, kills deer just fine. Bullets for big bucks, okay? Maybe a little bit stouter constructed bullet and a little bit more high performance factory loads, if I remember right. Goes over sights and scopes, same as Craig Boddington, but in a different way, you know. You know, each guy has got their own preferences. Shooting deer rifles, some tips on shooting the things. So again, excellent book. I would buy this one third or fourth after the other two. It is an excellent, excellent book, though. So again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.